Hey friend, Kelly Dunlap here. Happy Wednesday. It's a beautiful day here in Michigan. Wanted to jump on live, give you a quick tidbit of information for you, especially during this time. I'm just kind of writing down some notes of things that I wanted to share with you. And this is actually information that I would personally share with my clients. So right now, with all of this quarantine going on, I think a lot of people were panic purchasing, meaning that they were buying a lot of things that were processed, such as boxed items and convenience foods and things like that. So number one, I want to just encourage you to not lean into the mindset of, well, kind of like the whole credit card bill, I'll do something now and pay for it later. This is actually a really great time for you to start to pay attention to the way that you are, like the things that you're choosing, the way that you are responding to things. If there's one solid message that you're getting from me in every single live that I'm doing, every single time you watch me, you will find that I'm talking about your mindset and how you are responding and paying attention to those things as we go through this process. Now, today I want to talk to you about protein, and I want to share with you that there are a lot of ways for you to get protein in, and protein is probably one of the most ignored nutrients that you really should be shifting your hierarchy to. So what I mean by that, so if we were to create a hierarchy, okay, so if we were to say fats, carbs, and protein, I would want to make sure, my pen just stopped working, of course, that you pay closer attention to your protein than anything else. Now, one of the biggest questions people will say to me, here we go, is, well, I don't really know how much to eat as far as the protein goes. Okay, God, my pen stops working. I'll get back to this in a minute. I'll give it a minute. Let's first talk about why protein, okay? So protein is going to curb your cravings. It's also going to keep you more full. It's going to keep you more satisfied. So if I were to place in front of you 5 donuts and 5 chicken breasts, you would easily be able to eat those 5 donuts, but you would not be able to easily eat those 5 chicken breasts. They're very filling. They're very satiating. However, protein is something that is also a thermogenic. And a thermogenic just means that it takes your body more to process it and digest it, so it takes more energy, okay? So if you were to make one change in your nutrition today, I would recommend to add a little bit more protein. Now, most of the time people think, well, I'll just get a protein bar, or I'll just get a protein shake, or I will just grab some nuts. Well, we're going to talk about nuts and beans here in just a minute, because of that, I think is always, there's a misconception of what nuts and beans actually really are. Now, could you just add an additional protein shake in each day and notice a difference? Absolutely. However, I would start there, but then move into more of a whole food. Now, you might be thinking, well, meat is kind of hard to come by right now. Not necessarily, not if you plan it out properly. I am quite certain, now I know a lot of you don't live in Michigan like I do. I have a relationship with a market that I am always purchasing my fresh produce and meats from and such. But you have the access to those types of markets as well. There are different markets per se, like right around me, like Vincent Joe's, Nino Salvaggio, Schatz Market. These places are more than happy to take an order for you and then fill it, right? So it might take them a couple of days right now, where in the past I could call them same day and they could have everything ready for you, but it just depends on their situation. So consider those markets as well. And to be honest with you, I would prefer to get my meats and things from those markets versus like a Kroger or a Meijer, but that's just my personal preference, no judgment. But let's go back to protein here. So sure, you could do a protein shake, but you also have to remember that with a protein shake, you're getting other things in it as well. There's going to be carbs, it's going to be fat, it's a little bit, more processed and things like that. So the best when it comes to your protein is you want to reach towards like a nice meat or even some egg whites. Egg whites are a lifesaver. I just shared with my clients today that I made some fresh homemade chicken soup, not noodle soup. I made the noodles separate in case my husband wanted to have the noodles. But what I did for myself, so that I could make it more of a meal and also give myself a little bit more satiety with it, is I took 30 grams of egg whites, I measured that out, made it in a nice flat piece, and then broke it apart and made little noodles with egg whites. It was delicious. Egg whites are tasteless, but it added a lot of value to my bowl of soup instead of a bunch of pasta. I don't do very well with pasta. So when you increase your protein, you're going to have less cravings, you're going to be fuller, and the protein is also a thermogenic. In addition, it is very good for helping with, if you're doing any kind of exercising thing, it's great for muscle retention and repair and so on and so forth, right? So the majority of time when let's say for example, onboard a new client and I ask them to show me, say, 3 to 5 days worth of their food intake. 99.999% of the time, the individual is hardly eating any protein. Most of the time, people are eating maybe a third of what their actual protein intake should be. And I use the word should very lightly because I don't like to throw out shoulds to people. However, there are calculations and things that, if you want to just go on a basic, like how much protein should I be eating? If you know your lean mass, like for example, there's tools out there like Lifetime has a really great body fat machine. It's very close to the DEXA scan. DEXA scan is something that I have access to, which is great. It's a really thorough machine. And I know my exact lean body mass. And so I'm able to adjust my protein intake from that. Otherwise, there is a simple math number that I use for my macro clients. When I am creating macros for somebody, I basically just take their body weight. There is a whole other calculation that goes on with it. But what I'll do is I'll put it in the comments because I don't want to throw out this number and then be missing something. So if you're interested, I'll put it in the comments. And you can figure out like how many grams of protein. Because I'm telling you, if you just make one little change, and that is just by adding additional protein into your diet, you will notice a difference not only in the way that you feel, but also you would probably notice a slight difference over time in your composition, meaning your overall body composition. Now, what are some good lean sources of protein? Well, there's several. I think a lot of times people think, I don't want to eat just chicken. Well, chicken is super easy, right? That's, what people always think. They just assume, I can only eat chicken. You can have red meat. As a matter of fact, red meat is one of the biggest sources of my proteins. Love red meat. Love it. You can do a lot with it. Lamb is another one. I mean, it's a little fattier, but it's something that you can have as an option. It's also very good to rotate your proteins. Like I mentioned before, egg whites, chicken, pork, turkey, bison is good. Fish is always great. Now, I'm not a fish person. I'm just not. I've never really have. I mean, maybe tuna fish every once in a while, but there's just something about it. Just can't get through it. It has to be fried with tartar sauce. Salmon is always great. But I know salmon, it's, you really have to know how to cook these things, right? At least in my mind. But there are a lot of options for protein. Now, here's the thing this is where people get caught up. People think, oh, I'll just have some nuts. I'll just have some more nuts in my day. And they're not weighing it. They're not paying attention. Let me just say that there is protein in nuts. However, they're really classified as a fat. Okay, so yes, there is protein in there, but do not look at nuts to up your protein. If one of my clients messages me and says, hey, I need to get some fat in for the day, you have any suggestions? One of the first things I tell them is grab a few nuts, maybe some avocado, what have you, but nuts are fat. Okay, so don't even classify them into the protein category. You are going to put yourself in a position, right? The other thing is beans. Beans, people tend to classify those as a protein as well. Yes, they do have protein in them. However, they're more so a starchy carb, very heavy in the starch, okay? So those I would definitely kind of limit as well. Not telling you what to eat and what not to eat. We all have our own, physiological makeup. We all have our own personal preferences. We all have, we all respond to different foods differently, what have you. However, just be very mindful and careful about these things. So you just wanted to bring that to your attention, because I think that I'm not giving them a bad rap. I just want you to put them in the proper compartment. Okay. And that's pretty much about it. So just wanted to share that with you. During this time that we're all quarantined, when you do go to eat, just reach for those things that are fresh. Try to map out your shopping in advance. Nobody's going to starve you guys. Get in touch with your local butcher. See what they have available, how they're operating these things. Get in touch with those local markets. Like I'm going to share a story, like Vince and Joe's. They started something that was called Click to Curb. Hi, Renee. They started something called Click to Curb. Hey, Mom. And I have been getting a lot of my fresh produce and meats from them, and they've seen me on a regular. So then when this whole thing happened, they had actually reached out to me personally and said, hey, listen, just want to let you know, because you are a regular customer, we know that we should be expecting an order from you, but we had to turn our website shopping off. But wanted to let you know that on Friday is when we plan to turn it back on. So how thoughtful was that? They called, and then I talked to them again, and they said, hey, we just turned it back on. Wanted to let you know to get your order in. Now, it did take 24 hours for me to actually get that particular order. But what I'm trying to share here is that when you create these relationships with these local butchers and things, they are going to have your back as well. And so definitely do your research. Again, if you are around a market like a Vincent Joe's or what have you, but like we're fortunate, we've got Schatz Market, which is great. So we've got Vincent Joe's, we also have Nino Sabaggios, and we also have Randazzo. So we have a lot of great little places to go to. So focus on your protein, less on the packaged items. It's super easy to do right now. Watch the emotional eating, watch the stress eating and the anxiety. I've shared this with you guys before. Feel free to download and grab my tapping program for free. I'm more than happy to share that with you. Tapping is very good to help release any fear, any anxiety, help to rid of that uncertainty, also the feeling of the unknown. And it will help to release this mind trash and trapped negative energy that you have inside to help you process through this stuff. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think if you go to kellydunlap.com/tap, that will take you directly to that. Now, Facebook will not allow me to put any link with my name in a comment. It will not show up for you. It's ridiculous. I don't know. They think I'm being spammy or something, but I'm more than happy to share that with you during this time. It was a gift that I had put out to a summit that I was involved in, and I never shut it down. So if you would like to go in and take advantage of that, please do. Feel free. It's a nice 5-day kind of a program for you. Share it with your friends. I'm totally cool with that. But just really watch the way that you're responding to things. Pay attention to the story that you lean into when you start to hear certain things. What is the story that you find yourself saying when you start to think about work, or maybe when the president goes live, or when you hear somebody say, oh, I just heard that the death toll went up to such and such, or I heard this, or I heard that. What is it? Where do you go immediately? Where is your mind space? What emotional home are you living in? And that right there will help you a lot, because when you recognize where you lean into, when you start to recognize that, that's going to help you a tremendous amount in the way that you operate in your everyday life. Right now is the time for you to do this internal work on yourself. This is the best time. Talk about a fucking shit show, right? So now we're able to kind of see, like, how am I responding and reacting to others? How am I responding and reacting to the social media and the stories that are out there? How am I responding and reacting to my neighbors? How am I responding and reacting to my family that I'm now stuck in this home with, right? How am I treating myself? How am I treating my body? How am I treating my skin? How am I treating myself with the foods that I'm eating, the nutrients that I'm providing, and the brain food that I am inhaling, right? And when I say by inhaling, I mean by like watching and listening. Am I spending all my time binging on Netflix? Or am I binging and listening to things like informative podcasts and audibles and good books and just diving into these things? Like maybe there's a course that you purchased online and you never dove into it. Or maybe there's a course that you did take but you half-assed it and it's still sitting there. We'll go back to it. Utilize this time, to do those sorts of things. Come out of it, come out of this. You can, and I promise you this, you can transform yourself during this time in a lot of ways. And I mean that, and I'm getting very close to the screen because I want you to recognize that. There's so many people that are like leaning into the credit card mindset of, I'm just gonna do whatever now. I'll pay for it later, meaning, oh, who cares if I gain weight? I'm just going to eat what I want. Or who cares what I do during this time? I'm just going to do what I want. I'll deal with it later. Don't get caught up into that. Right now is the time for you to make the shift. Right now is the time for you to start to go all in on you. Put the time that you have in on yourself. Go in on yourself. Pay attention to the stuff that you're doing. Like right now, like I've been working for the last 3 hours. So, okay, I don't go live, talk to my friends, share what's on my mind. And I've been giving, I've been serving, I've been in a servantous mode, right? So I've been on calls with my clients and things like that. And I'm serving others. So now, once I come off, I'm going to serve myself. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go for a nice walk. I'm going to prepare some foods for myself. I'm going to listen to a great audiobook. I'm going to do some weights. I'm going to rest. I'm going to make my surroundings peaceful. And I kind of I like to lay on my bed and I love pillows and I like it to be soft and I like to listen to classical music. And I just like to sit, and sometimes I'll just, read something. Sometimes I'll be typing something, but it doesn't matter. I'm resting. I'm resting my body. I'm taking the time for Kelly. Okay. So just wanted to share these little nuggets of information. I am putting something together. Keep your eyes open within the next week at the latest. I just hung up with one of my girls and I'm going to put something together. And I'm excited about it. And it will help you to kind of stay focused and go down this path that I am preaching about. And so I'm really excited about that. It's going to be free. So happy to serve and share. But just want to let you know. So today, my friend, look and see and pay attention to what it is that you're eating. How much protein are you actually eating? And I will make a note here to put the calculation a simple calculation so that you can get a ballpark window as to how much protein you should actually be eating each day. Increase your protein, you're gonna increase a lot of benefits for yourself. Okay, so if you're just hopping on, make sure that you watch the replay. Please feel free to leave any comments or questions that you might have. I will definitely get back to it, but I will put the calculation here in the comments, and then it will give you kind of an idea. And then for you, my recommendation would be to go onto MyFitnessPal for a few days, document, like just kind of eat like you have been eating, and then you can just document and get an average of how much protein you've been taking. So let's just say, for example, for 3 days, let's just say you started today, and let's say you had 60 grams of protein, and then tomorrow you had 25, and then the next day you had 105. Just kind of throwing out some numbers. Then you would take those three numbers. You would go 105 plus 25 plus 60. So that's 190, and then you would divide that by 3, and then that would give you your average daily intake. So we would kind of look for an average, right? So now let's see. 3, 6, 3 times 3. So then if you were to take the 190 and divide that by 3, what would that be? 8 times 3, 7 times 3, 6 times 3 is 18. So you basically, this person would be averaging roughly around 65 grams of protein a day. And I can tell you that's way too low, regardless of who you are. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. Happy to help. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have any questions of any kind, just feel free to comment or message me. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for spending time with me today. Bye, guys.